Hello, sports managers of the Super Conference. This is Tyler Burkhart, your commissioner speaking. And we are going to go through our Week 1 wrap-up here. Week 1 is in the books, and what a week it was. We had people scoring out of their shoes, and we had a close matchup that got to .1 points. An amazing way to start off the year for fantasy football. So let's jump right to it, Week 1 wrap-up. We're going to start with the best manager of the week. And remember, when I do this, I try to be non-biased as possible. But putting the managers together, I'm going to go with myself, Tyler Burkhart, as the best manager for Week 1. And I'm sure half of you are probably laughing, but here's why. I put up the second most fantasy points, almost 120 fantasy points. About a few days before Week 1, I traded for Mark Sanchez, who got me 15 more fantasy points in Week 1 than Sam Bradford did. I also picked up an undrafted Cadillac Williams, who now has value equal probably to about a 6th round pick. 3rd round actually in our draft, but a total of 6 out of the 15 rounds. I think his value definitely climbed with the injury to Steven Jackson. And I drafted Aaron Hernandez in the 12th round, started him over Lance Kendricks, as he gave me the second most fantasy points out of the tight end position. So for this reason, I got to give myself the best manager for Week 1. The worst manager for Week 1 was Mark Johnson. Now, we all know Mark Johnson is a great fantasy football manager, but I think he really lost it in Week 1. He started 2 running backs that didn't even play, in Arian Foster and Daniel Thomas. Could have tried to at least get some more running back depth or at least play Maurice Morris and get 3 points. But instead, he just didn't make the effort, and he kept him in his lineup. And another thing, too, is he didn't make any significant changes prior to the season. He should have realized that his running back depth is weak, and he didn't make the move to do so. So for those 2 reasons, Mark Johnson, worst manager during Week 1. Most valuable player for Week 1 goes to Drew Brees for the San Diego Whales. Almost got 30 fantasy points and helped San Diego shut down the LA Seismic-Quakes, who actually made a pretty good run there on Monday. Drew Brees, I think, scored the most fantasy points out of all the quarterbacks. Maybe Tom Brady beat him, but it was pretty close between those 2. But really, Drew Brees helped. Great trade for San Diego Whales to get him as he starts 1-0 on the season. No doubt the best game was Seattle Sasquatches versus Fargo Embargo. I've never seen a match or game ever close than this. This was the closest I've ever seen. 0.1 point differential. Unbelievable. However, I do want to note that only 2 other teams scored fewer than them. So it's not like either of these teams put up a lot of points and looked sharp in Week 1. Finally, my biggest upset, really there weren't a lot of upsets in Week 1. But I'm going to have to go with Green Bay Legends over Minnesota Bryants because of Tolbert and Welker's performance. And also Green Bay Legends, I had them at the 5th spot in my playoffs. So I don't think it's a huge surprise that he won. It's about how he did it. Second largest victory in the league, and over Minnesota Bryants, who for my pre-rankings I had number 1. So for that reasons, that's the big upset. Heading to my rankings now, and you can check out the week rankings right now. Really no major changes. Out of my top 8 teams, 6 of the 8 won in Week 1, and the 2 of the 8 that lost played another team in the top 8. So really, this is once again one of my reasons why I don't think there were a lot of upsets and really no major changes. 2 teams that probably changed the most, Fargo Embargo dropped from 9 to 13. Some bad preseason trades, giving up Frank Gore for Peyton Manning, dropped his team. We'll see what he can do in the future weeks as we come up. The only other major difference was Cleveland, despite winning, went down 2 spots, and Washington and Green Bay went up. For Cleveland, has to ask themselves as far as their running back depth. Mendenhall is a great back, but Sean Green, I think, is going to be a larger question mark, at least than I thought. So for this reason, I still think Cleveland's going to make the playoffs, but I'll move them down from 4 to 6. Otherwise, no significant changes. So let's head to Week 2 and see what's happening in Week 2 here. Game of the week, I have the Washington Stimulus taking on the San Diego Whales. These are the only teams that are matching up together that are 1-0. All the other teams are either 1-0 or 0-1 kind of matchup. And then there's 2 teams, the Seismic Quakes taking on the Yankees, who are both 0-1. So really, quite proud of myself as far as how I matched it up with the current schedule, because I mean, I think we're going to see a lot of question marks here. We could either see a lot of teams that are 2-0 and 0-2, or we could see a lot of teams at 1-1. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in Week 2 here. And my upset special for you is I have Kiln Legend taking over Seattle Sasquatches in Week 2. Chris Johnson for Seattle plays Baltimore. LaShawn McCoy plays Atlanta. And Roddy White takes on Philly. Those are 3 really tough matchups for his keepers. Meanwhile, Kiln Legend has Matthew Stafford and Calvin Johnson taking on Kansas City Chiefs, who looked absolutely terrible against the Buffalo Bills. I even think Frank Gore could put up some points against the Cowboys, as long as the cornerbacks for Dallas stay out, and maybe Alex Smith can actually get some passes through that defense. Finally, the winners, remember, whoever wins and predicts the most teams to win every week gets 10 points for their FAB. So adding it up, there was a tie, 6 out of the 8 correct, between San Diego and Kiln Legend. They had 6 of the 8, so they will split the 10, so it'll be 5 apiece. So that's what we'll do if there's a tiebreaker, is you'll just get 5 points. So even if we have 4 teams tie, well, I'll just give all those 4 teams 5 points is what we'll do. Lastly, remember, you can do your own awards. And if you do your own awards, similar to the awards I did, I will give you 10 FAB points. You don't have to do the rankings, but if you want to do the rest of the awards, same categories that I did, that would be great. So that wraps it up for the Week 1 recap. This is your Commissioner Tyler Burkhart speaking. Best of luck to all of you for Week 2, and game on.